So I like to think that I'm a fairly advanced user when it comes to the iPhone. I've been using iOS for over 10 years and have picked up a bunch of tips and tricks along the way, many of which you will have already seen. But very occasionally, I will come across new features which I just had no idea existed. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be sharing 17 hidden iPhone features that you might not have heard of before. Before we begin, make sure to sign up to my monthly newsletter if you haven't already. I share interesting stories and experiences that I don't cover elsewhere. I'll leave a link to it in the description if anyone is interested. Let's get into the video. First up, we have the undo feature. So let's say I accidentally deleted a bunch of important files inside of the Files app. If I tap on the middle of the screen with 3 fingers, it will open up a menu that lets you undo, cut, copy, paste, and redo your previous action. And if you want to take this a step further, you can just swipe left with 3 fingers and it will automatically undo the previous action without you having to open up the menu. Like, that is just wild. I am curious to know when Apple introduced this because I literally had no clue this feature existed until a couple of weeks ago. Also, if you want to quickly select multiple items in a list, you can simply swipe down with 2 fingers to open the selector. If you've ever wondered how you can get rid of the background blur on your wallpapers on the home screen, head into the lock screen, press and hold onto your wallpaper to open up the editor, then tap on the home screen thumbnail, and you'll want to make sure that this blue icon is toggled off, and that will make our wallpaper transparent again. This next tip is for iPhone users who don't have access to Apple Intelligence, which probably is going to be most people. So with the new Siri in iOS 18, you can of course type to Siri using your iPhone's keyboard, but Apple Intelligence is only available on the iPhone 15 Pro and 16 series. However, even if you have an older iPhone, there's actually an accessibility setting that lets you do a similar thing. It's called Type to Siri, ironically, and to enable this, we simply head into Settings, go into Accessibility, into Siri, and then you'll want to enable Type to Siri. And so now if I want, I can ask Siri to set me a new reminder or set a timer, and I can just type it out without having to awkwardly say my request out loud in public. Next up, if we head into Mail, we can actually assign certain contacts to be VIPs by clicking on their names to open up their contact poster and then pressing Add to VIP. And then if we head into Settings and into Notifications, inside of Mail, we can choose to only receive email notifications from those important VIP contacts, whilst disabling notifications for all of the other spam emails you might be receiving. So it just gives you an additional way to filter out unimportant emails on your iPhone. If you're a heathen who has hundreds of Safari tabs open, but you're feeling too lazy to close them one by one, you can instead press and hold onto the tab icon at the bottom and quickly close all of your tabs at once. Now, one issue that you might come across when browsing through websites on Safari is that when you press back, it just reloads the page and you sort of get trapped inside of the website. Thankfully though, there is a workaround for this. Simply press and hold onto the left arrow and you can choose to go back to any of your previous pages. And this also works for the right arrow too. If you have multiple pages on your home screen, rather than swiping individually between them to get to the very end, you can simply tap on the pill at the bottom and swipe across them. If you accidentally make a mistake whilst typing something in the calculator and you've already pressed enter, rather than resetting the entire calculation and starting from scratch, you can actually tap on the calculation on the top and edit where you left off. However, rather than using the calculator, I'd actually recommend using Spotlight Search instead. In fact, I rarely ever use the default calculator app on my iPhone, mainly because Spotlight Search can pretty much do everything the calculator can do. It can run currency conversions, it can run unit conversions, it can calculate powers and exponentials. You can also use Spotlight to search for general information too. So let's say I wanted to know when Manchester United are next playing. Rather than having to open Safari and search for that on Google, I can simply type in Man United next game and it will load up our upcoming fixtures along with recent scores and information regarding the location and the time of the game. You can do this for other things like movies, TV shows, and certain celebrities as well. And over the long run, it will save you having to search for all of this stuff on Google. Now, one of my favorite hidden features on the iPhone is text replacement. If you go into settings, general, then keyboard, then into text replacement, you can set up text replacement shortcuts for your keyboard. So for example, I have a simple 2-letter shortcut to automatically insert my email anytime somebody asks for it over text. It saves me having to write down the same message every time. Now, one of the most popular features on iOS is the ability to display widgets on the home screen. However, until very recently, I had no idea that you can actually customize what information is shown inside of the widget. So if we press and hold onto our reminder widget, for example, there's an option to edit reminders, and this will allow us to choose which reminders folder we want the widget to display. So we can have it display today's reminders instead of my family chores. You can do similar things for widgets like the calendar, files, and news. So with the news widget, I can have it display news relating to topics that I'm actually following, rather than those random tabloid articles that are there by default. Next up, we have another cool accessibility setting. I've actually done a separate video on this feature already. It's called background sounds, and essentially what it lets you do is play a bunch of natural sounds like the rain or fire or ocean on your phone. So to add this, we go into Control Center, press on the screen, tap on the plus icon at the bottom, and we're going to want to search for background sounds, which we can then tap to add into the Control Center. And then when we tap on the background sounds icon, the sounds will immediately begin playing. And you can long press on the control to change the sound and the volume. I use this feature pretty much all the time for whenever I'm getting any sort of focus work done. Or maybe if I want to sit in silence, but I don't want the room to be completely silent. Next up, we have the ability to set custom charging limits on the iPhone. This feature is only available on the iPhone 15 series and later. But if we go into settings and into battery, we can choose to set a charging limit between 80 and 100%. So let's say that you like to have your iPhone on standby mode when you're working at your desk. Obviously, you don't want your phone to be fully charged at 100% all of the time, because that can of course damage your battery life over the long run. So what you can instead do is set a limit to stop your phone from charging past 80%. Inside of the Wallet app, you can actually link your saved debit cards to your bank account and view your bank balances from the Wallet app if your bank supports it. Now, I don't want to show you my details on screen, but if you go into the Apple Pay and Wallet section in the Settings app and click on your bank card, there should be a toggle that lets you connect that to your bank account directly. And it's really useful because anytime that you use Apple Pay online, it will actually display your current balance on the screen, which I think just makes you think twice about making reckless purchases. Now, this next tip is for all of our Pro Max and Plus iPhone users. Obviously, it can be quite cumbersome to do the whole hand gymnastics thing to reach for stuff at the top. So what I recommend doing is going into settings, into accessibility, and turning on reachability. This actually used to be on by default on the iPhone Xs back in 2017, I think it was. But essentially, once it's enabled, you can effectively just swipe down from the bottom and quickly access stuff. Super useful if the top of your phone is broken too. And finally, just as a bonus tip, if you've ever wondered how to turn your iPhone into a Samsung, it's actually really easy. Just go into Safari and type in switch to Galaxy, and you'll want to click on one of the first links from Samsung that you see. Once you're in the website, tap share, and then add this page to your home screen. And then when you press into the icon, it will give you a feel for what the Samsung Galaxy UI might look like. To be fair, it's not really a feature. I just thought it was pretty cool how you could make your iPhone look like a Samsung. So those are just a few tips that I've learned over the years of using an iPhone. If you've made it this far, you might also be interested in watching my video on the top hidden features for iOS 18. which you can click on in one of these corners. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for the next one.